Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. On this channel, we spend our time looking at fantasy of all sorts, from books to movies to video games, and applying the characters within into the tabletop game Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. Today, though, we're looking at a core mechanic of D&D itself, specifically a classic archetype of the rogue, the subclass known as the assassin. The assassin rogue is something a lot of people visualize. The sniper hiding up in the tower with a heavy crossbow or a longbow. The sneaky dagger knife sitting in the shadows waiting for the perfect moment to stab with a poisoned blade and then slink away before anyone catches them. The assassin is well known. But the subclass, well, let's have a look-see. First of all, right at level 3, you get the bonus proficiencies of the Poisoner's Kit and the Disguise Kit. The Poisoner's Kit is okay. It's not the greatest kit in the world, considering that most of the time you can just buy poison. The Disguise Kit's really good. It is one of the handier kits. Between the two of them, I say 7 out of 10 here. Then you gain the Assassinate ability. What this means is that you, on the first round of combat, assuming you have, you attack a creature that hasn't taken its turn yet, you automatically get advantage, so you can land your sneak attack automatically. And you get an automatic critical hit against a creature that is surprised. Surprise is not the most common thing in the game, so you're not always going to get that auto crit. Gaining advantage on the first round of combat is okay. There are other ways to generate advantage. Between the two of these and the handiness that the ability can give in certain situations, I'd say 8 out of 10 here. That auto crit is really powerful when you do manage to land it. But surprise isn't always the easiest thing to gain. Then at level 9, you gain the Infiltration Expertise. This one's a weird one. You can spend gold and some time in a town or location creating a fake identity, where you're known by the public folk, you have documentation, connections, that sort of thing. It takes you a week, and I think 25 gold to do. I'm not sure why this is an ability that a rogue gets. I think that anyone with a decent charisma score and a bit of prep time could do this. Like, I don't know. There might be some kind of idea here that rogues just automatically succeed at doing it, whereas other people would have to, like, make charisma checks or something like that. It's weird. I think that this is a bit of a dud ability because, honestly, I don't see the purpose in making it a subclass power when anyone could do this. I give this a 3 out of 10. Then there's the Imposter ability. You get this at level 13. It allows you to copy a voice perfectly by listening to it for 3 hours. If you hear a person talking for a couple hours, you can copy their voice perfectly, which can be handy if you're trying to give orders in a dark location, or you're trying to convince people that someone is somewhere else than they really are. Here's the problem. There's a feat that lets you do this much better. The Actor feat allows you to copy a person's voice almost perfectly with a minute of talking to them. Now, I know feats are not the same as subclass abilities, and a lot of people want their feats for other stuff. Fair enough. But still, the fact that this power is a lesser version of something a feat gives you really ruins it for me. I give this a 4 out of 10. Finally, their capstone feature at level 17, Death Strike. If they use their auto crit against a surprised creature in the first round of combat, they double the damage they do. First, they add the extra dice that a critical hit would add, especially with the sneak attack. And then once you've added all that damage up, the creature makes a constitution save, and if they fail it, you do double damage to them. At higher levels, sneak attacks can get up to like 8, 9, or even 10 d6 on top of your regular attack. With advantage, you can land this sneak attack, and with surprise, you crit, which means you've just turned the number of dice you're rolling up into the 20s. And then, with this Death Strike, you land that hit, and then you double the damage. That is akin to hitting someone with a meteor strike, which is about 40 dice of damage. If you manage to land this at the higher levels, you are killing that target, unless they are a supremely powerful boss monster, or they have legendary resistance or something. This is a super attack, but it still only works on occasion. You have to have the surprise round of combat, and then you have to hit the attack, which isn't too hard. But surprise becomes more and more difficult to pull off later you go in the game. In early game, as a stealthy rogue, it's not that hard to surprise the bandits, or to sneak up on a group of enemies. That's not that hard. In higher levels of play, when you've got creatures that have all sorts of magical senses, supernatural abilities that can detect you from a mile away, blind sense, tremor sense, true sight, loads of things, how are you going to get a surprise round? This means that unless you're very lucky, or in a very, very unique situation, this is not going to happen. Which also means that your assassinate feature becomes a little bit truncated later in the game, because it's just not going to hit. If you manage to pull off this deadly strike, you're going to feel like the greatest assassin that ever lived. But the chances of you pulling it off are 1 in a million. Like, it's probably just not going to happen. And if it does happen the one time, was it worth taking this feature just for that one attack? Maybe. But in any case, I give this a 6 out of 10. It's certainly powerful, but the odds of it landing are so low that you really can't count on it. Overall, the Assassin gets a 6 out of 10 when you crunch the numbers together. The problem with the Assassin is that it feels like several of its abilities are just so hard to land because they rely on surprise, which is just something you don't have in higher tiers of play, and is actually difficult to get even in lower tiers. If you bought your initiative, then you're not going to get it anyway. And the other features seem very redundant. They could be replaced by good role-playing, good planning, or a very specific feat. This just feels like a half-baked subclass that could have done better. It's not useless. There are powerful things here, but it just feels like it could have been better, and it disappoints me. So I give it a 6 out of 10 overall. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes peeled for more subclass reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.